one thing?
Hi, Alison. What's one thing about your pain research that you want everyone to know?
Thanks, Josh. Some of the research that we have done as part of my PhD focused on clinicians and looking at clinicians who work in complexity, so in areas of pain, which is obviously really complex, but then taking it that one step further and looking at people who work with patients who have a compensation claim. So obviously that ups the complexity because there's so many competing factors that go into that space. And what we know is that a lot of clinicians will refuse to treat this cohort of patients, and they really need our help. So some of our research looked into what is it that clinicians find tricky about working with this cohort of patients. Some of the things we thought we knew, and we did. So a lot of that idea of vicarious injustice, so clinicians being exposed to these hard things that patients and unfair things that patients are going through, sat really heavily with them, and they described experiencing emotional exhaustion and finding that really hard, describing things like having to debrief after work or having to go for a big walk around the block before they went home. Those things we expected. What was really interesting about the research was there was a group of really experienced clinicians who had access to great mentoring, great supervision, had either gone on and done further education in terms of a master's or had done a lot of CPD, who then went on to develop this sense of mastery. So they got to a place where they felt like they were really good at what they did and felt really competent and able to tackle, to meet this complexity head on and know that they could do a good job with that. And what they then would go on to describe is this deep sense of meaning and purpose in their work. So knowing that this sense of control and mastery that they had meant that they could meet that complexity and get to a point of being able to solve a lot of these problems, help people to do well, and that made people feel really good about themselves. So it sort of implanted a sense of meaning and purpose, and that seemed to be protective. So people who are describing this seem to cope with the emotional exhaustion, the vicarious injustice, and all those other things that come with that complexity a lot better. So the take-home point from that for us is around the idea of seek mentoring, seek supervision, provide supportive workplaces, especially for clinicians who are working in complexity, and for clinicians as well to value that CPD. It seems to matter in terms of longevity and health and well-being for clinicians.
Amazing. That is brilliant and like such clear implications for us. So thanks for that.
Yeah.